it's actually quite exciting what you explore. You're with your Unconventional Wisdom company, you're exploring customer behavior on the psychological side and support companies with knowing what the customers want. And we have been talking in our panel a lot about hybrid advice. We have talked about ways how to engage with clients. And where do you see the main differences when it comes to dealing with an app,
Mm.
being face to face, or being on the phone?
There's a lot of talk about the differences in interacting online, in person, face to face. But I like to start off by saying, actually, customers' expectation is very simple. They want to have a goal achieved. That is what humans are like. We are goal achievement machines. We come to our bank and we want to achieve a goal. For example, check our bank account balance or send money abroad. And if we can achieve that goal online, that's how we'll do it. If we need to speak to someone on the phone, that's how we'll do it. So first and foremost, we are goal achievement machines. That's a helpful way to think about customers. But yes, we are noticing that more and more things now can be done online. But banks should be careful, because if you can do it online, you have to make sure you do it well, because customers have a much higher expectation now. I've noticed in our research that customers are very understanding with humans if there are mistakes made. Maybe you call up an insurance company or your bank and you speak to someone and it takes them a bit of time and they have to talk to their manager. Usually you're quite understanding, you're quite forgiving, you don't mind the delay, you just go with it. But if that happened when you were online on the app or on the website and there was a delay, there was a mistake, you would get really annoyed and you would immediately close it down. So actually, when companies say they can provide a service online, it's like they're raising the bar and the customer's saying, now you better meet that bar. So my top tip for banks or for insurance companies, if they want to go online with their service, make sure it's actually achievable. Because if you can't achieve that goal, for example, through a chatbot or a voice bot, customers will actually be more angry or complain. So that's the first tip. Secondly, when it comes to these goals or these tasks that customers want to achieve, I like to plot them out on a spectrum, really from the most low stakes to the high stakes sort of interaction. So low stakes would be very, very transactional, easy to do. There's no risk. I know what I'm doing. I've done it before. It went fine. For example, checking my bank balance. That's really easy to move it online, and every bank has already done that, of course. Then you've got stuff that's more like higher stakes. Will it work? Will it not? And the good example of this is buying clothes online or buying shoes online. What if it doesn't fit? I'm a bit nervous. Will I actually order it, or should I go to a shop in person? You're not sure. And then the reason you're confident to buy online is because they've given you reassurance. For example, if it doesn't fit, you can send it back for free. Suddenly they've given you psychological reassurance, so therefore you feel confident doing it online. And I see more and more things are moving into this area. Previously, too scary to do it online. Now you've provided me reassurance, I'm happy to do it. And the main way that people feel comfortable is if they've done it before and it went well. For example, paying in a check online. If you've done it before on the app and it worked, then you always do it. That first time is quite important. Equally, if the first time you do it, it doesn't work, you will never try again. And that's why there's such a bad reputation with voice bots, because people tried them a few years ago and they were so terrible. Customers would call up and say, please open a bank account. And the voice bot would say, did you say pepperoni pizza? It's like, no, I didn't say that at all. You're not understanding me. And therefore, people don't like voice bots. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you have what I would say are the really high stakes decisions. Some things in life you still want to talk to a human being about. Think about, for example, buying life insurance. It can be done online, but people still want to talk to someone, because if I get this wrong, it really matters, because for my wife, for my kids, even things like switching health insurance from one plan to another, it can be done online, and some people do it online, but most people go online, they check their options, but they still speak to someone either in person or on the phone, or maybe remortgaging your house. It feels like a big decision. If I get this wrong, it's really bad. At that end of the spectrum, for now at least, that reassurance is still provided by human beings, usually in a bank branch or on the phone. But I do see that over time, as we provide more reassurance, which is a psychological benefit, people will start to do more and more of these things online.
Yeah, I think reassurance is really important there. And I see there's also different in markets. So, for example, when I was starting my career, I was actually doing mortgages over the phone. So I was working there and I could assure the clients that they are safe when they do the mortgages with the bank that I was with, without seeing the clients. So I think sometimes it is a market that needs to develop, and I think it's a bit different. You were talking about checks online. So here in Switzerland, I've never seen a check, so we are not using that. So it's a total different way of doing it. And I think it's very important when you look at this, you have international differences, you have differences in your country. You have so many different customers
Yes.
that have different needs. So they might need the assurance from a banker. They might need the app that is functioning perfectly. And then it's interesting to see what can banks offer and what can they offer and where can they learn from new competitors, from the neobanks that are in the market since a few years. What do they do better? Why are they attracting their clients?
Yeah.
And do you see what is important there? What can you give advices to that?
Of course. And I think you're right. Firstly, that every customer is different and we can probably group them broadly in segments. But again, I would broadly group them according to level of familiarity. How confident are they doing these tasks? Sometimes you have customers who call up and who say, I know exactly what I want, just get it done for me, because they've done it before, it's familiar. Other customers need a lot of that reassurance. So usually the more familiar someone is, the more confident they are with it. But to your question about neobanks, it's so interesting. They've cropped up, so many of them, so quickly, and they are so good at what they do. It's clear. Everyone has probably a Revolut, Monzo account. Usually they popped up because they were very good at tackling a pain point, like transferring money overseas, or travel money with no fees. Fantastic. People like that. Or I think what they've done as well is they make money very easy to deal with. For example, you can split the bill with your friends and send it to each other, and then send a smiley face emoji to say thank you for splitting the bill with me. They've made money easy, they've made money sociable, all the things that really banks should have been doing for a long time. I think the neobanks came along and sorted it out. They've delivered this superior digital customer experience. I think the traditional banks really should be learning lessons from this, and wherever possible, they should be building something similar. A great customer experience for those customers, digital first, make it easy. For example, I love the way that when you're with a Revolut account, you can start quickly saving money in a little saving pot on the side.
Yeah.
Now, in a normal bank, you usually have to create a savings account, and that feels like a big step. But actually, a saving pot sounds easier. It's super quick, but I'm sure in the background, they're still just creating a savings account. So it's like they've understood the psychology of the shopper, of the customer, much better, and they've met customers where they are. They've made banking easier, faster, more sociable. Traditional banks should copy this. But maybe counterintuitively, I'd say there are some things that neobanks will struggle to do. And one of those is, for example, have that long established trust. We know that customers, I know they like to have a moan about banks, but at the end of the day, customers still trust banks because they've been around for 200, 300, 400 years or more. They have big buildings, they have bank branches, they have a reputation, they're stable. Whereas the digital banks, who knows how long they'll be around? People feel more uncertain. Is it going to be there next year? I don't know. And so what we've noticed in our research is that the neobanks are saying to customers, please switch over to us, bring all your salary and your bills and your mortgage and your rent into us. And customers on the whole are saying, no thanks, I don't feel confident, I don't feel familiar or doing that yet. There's still an element of unknown. And so I think the traditional banks have a bit of an easier opportunity. Yes, they need to build digital journeys, they need to do it really quickly and really well, but actually they can harness a well-known brand and that confidence that actually neobanks cannot copy. They can't build that overnight. And maybe both will live side by side for a while. Maybe, as I've heard one customer put it to me, the neobank is for my fun money and the traditional bank is for my serious money. Maybe that's just the future for a while.
That's an interesting view. So traditional banks have their value, and they can really come up with solutions where they copy neobanks or where they include things that people are needing on that side, and then they can keep their market in a good way. And especially fund money and your serious money. That's very interesting for me to see that there is a difference in how people perceive what they are doing. And I think you said the same with when you go shopping and you buy something online. If you have the reassurance, you can send it back. You do it more easily than if you don't. So it's actually great to see what we can learn on one hand side, how we can develop with our clients. And your clients are similar to what we do at Synpulse.
Yes, right. And I've learned in the last few months that the best companies, the best examples are really harnessing hybrid. They're really working out. The customer usually nowadays starts online. Maybe they compare prices, they get different quotes, but at somewhere along the way, they might want some reassurance. Now that might be human in the sense of on the phone, it might even be in person, but sometimes it can be almost semi-human. It could be a chatbot, it could be a testimonial reassuring them that someone else just like them bought the same plan or switched to the same health insurance or opened an account and it went well for them. It could be a rating online, it could be some feedback, or it could be something like a little chatbot that pops up and says, do you need help with your decision? But that element of hybrid, that people, yes, they're happy to do certain things online, but when they need it, they also want some human reassurance. I think companies that neglect this and just think everything could be done online, if we build it, they will come. Unfortunately, that's too simplistic. It's naive. That's not how humans work. And then your conversion rate drops and people just walk away. But actually, if you understand humans have transactional needs, like switching money around, but they also have relational, emotional needs, like being comforted and reassured along the way. Companies that understand that actually typically have the better conversion rates.
Great. I think that was a very great summary. Thank you very much for that, and thanks for having you here.
It's great to be here. Thank you.